Story number 1. Stepp Cemetery and the Lady in Black. As you walk into Stepp Cemetery, you might not be able to see what so many people find spooky, but people all over the state have heard the stories about this rural graveyard in the middle of the Morgan Monroe State Forest. There are tales of a ghostly woman in black who appears in the cemetery and is drawn to a baby's grave, a somehow spooky tree stump that came to be known as the Warlock Chair. These are the constants in the ever-changing lore of the Stepp Cemetery. Over the years, the stories morph and grow, as any good ghost story should, new layers added, old details lost. According to Indiana Folklore, Volume 5, the Crabbites, a mostly undocumented, somewhat fringe Christian sect, may have used the cemetery for some ritualistic practices. Most of the stories about Stepp date back to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. As more teenagers got cars during those decades, they needed places to get away. Folklore texts say Stepp became a place for beer blasts and other late-night get-togethers for young people in the area. And as the kids gathered, the stories grew. The most well-known involves a ghostly woman in black, who for decades has roamed the cemetery, sometimes exhuming what some say is her dead child from his grave, just to hold him. The grave dates back decades and still sits in the back corner of the cemetery, where people continue to adorn it with toys. The story goes, a tree stump near the baby's grave became the place the woman in black sat to hold the ghostly child. Then, that stump somehow became called the Warlock's Chair. The curses of delayed death wove themselves into the fabric of the cemetery. Story number 2. New York Post's Doomed. This photograph is of Ki Soo-kwan, 58 years old, of Queens, as he frantically tries to climb to safety as a train bears down on him in Midtown. He was sadly, fatally struck seconds later. The story goes, the assailant was acting a little strange, and Soo-kwan tried to calm him down, saying, "Hey, you're scaring people," a law enforcement source said. The emotionally disturbed man just started screaming and cursing, saying things like, "You don't know me," or "You don't know even who I am." And as the train's arrival was announced over the loudspeaker, the attacker just grabbed Han and launched him, just threw him. A witness by the name of Abbasi said the most painful part was that I could see him getting closer to the edge. He was getting so close, and people were running towards him and the train, trying to get them to stop. As I was running towards the train, Abbasi said, the man I believe pushed him, ran the other way, and all he could hear him say was, "Goddamn motherfucker." I didn't think about the perp until after, Abbasi said in that moment. I just wanted to warn the train and try to save a life. One witness said that Han was actually dragged from 10 to 15 feet, and even saw his body flying through the air. Han's wife was devastated, and she said that her and her husband actually had a quarrel before he had left the house around 11 a.m. to head for Manhattan. She told the cops that he'd been drinking, and one witness claimed he was the aggressor on the platform. Law enforcement sources said, adding that authorities found a bottle of vodka on Han afterward. "We had a fight," the widow said through the tears. "I kept calling him and calling him to see where he was, but he didn't answer." Story number 3. A group of friends in Beirut, Lebanon. Like many teen boys in Beirut, Lebanon, Mohammed El-Shair had basketball dreams. The 16-year-old once signed a basketball with his name, and he gave it to his mother. El-Shair's friend, Omar Bekdash, at 18, tells Mail Online in an exclusive interview, he told her, "You keep this because someday I'm going to be famous." On December 27th, 2013, El Shair got his wish, but for all the wrong reasons. This photograph may seem like a regular day with teens and friends, enjoying the day as many teenagers do, but in fact, it is seconds before a bomb planting that went off in Lebanon. They said that even before the explosion, they knew the situation would never get better, and every one of them that was there at the explosion dreamed of getting out and having their family outside of Lebanon. They said that they knew that there was a lot of confrontations between two political parties, and people like Muhammad have to pay for it every single time. People like Muhammad, meaning the innocent. Now Bekdesh, Muhammad's friend, just wants people to remember that his friend Muhammad, an athletic teen who wasn't shy about hugging friends and telling them how special they were, deserves to be celebrated for who he was instead of what happened to him. For those that live every day, happy, full of life, and with nothing to worry about, this picture and story should have you understand to be grateful and understand that your life can be taken just as quickly as between Muhammad did between the picture and seconds after. Story number 4. Michael Rockefeller's death by cannibalism. Michael Rockefeller, son of U.S. Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, disappeared somewhere in Papua New Guinea in the early 1960s. Seen here on this photo is his field trip there in May 1960. Rockefeller's smile contradicts his grim fate. It's believed he was killed and eaten by the Asmat people, a cannibal group known to behead their enemies and consume their flesh. Story number 5. The Last Moments of Regina K. Walters. Truck stop killer Robert Ben Rhodes may have killed more than 50 women while driving commercial trucks back and forth across America throughout the 1970s and 80s. But perhaps his most chilling murder is the one believed to be his last. Just before Rhodes murdered 14-year-old Regina K. Walters in an Illinois barn in the early 1990s, he took a series of photos of her cowering in fear as he moved in for the kill. Authorities found this photo and a collection of others like it inside Rhodes' home after he was finally caught several months later.